My name is Gerard Quinn. I'm a professor of law at National University of Ireland in Galway, where I direct a research centre on international and comparative disability law and policy. The European Union, quite uniquely, has actually ratified a United Nations treaty on disability law and policy, so there's huge challenges in translating that into actionable reform at European level. So most of our work is involved in trying to put forward blueprints for change at European level on disability law and policy. Our centre has about maybe 7 affiliated faculty members, and we have perhaps about 12 PhDs working directly with our centre. And in addition to that, we have our own master's programme, an international master's programme. The FP7 Marie Curie action that we've been directly involved with is the Initial Training Network, and we are actually the coordinator of that at NUI in Galway. We have approximately 14 ESRs directly engaged on that, spread amongst about 7 different European sites. I first came across the Marie Curie Initial Training Networks through a Swiss colleague based in the University of Lucerne. I was generally familiar with the field myself because I had previously worked in the European Commission and indeed have directed a lot of research programmes for particularly DG Justice and DG Employment and Social Affairs. The basic reason we got involved, or the basic motivation to get involved, is we realised there was a huge policy challenge at European level, which was converting inert knowledge about the UN Disability Treaty into really actionable lines of reform and change in Brussels and throughout the member states. So we thought it would be neat to put together a network that wouldn't just impart knowledge and information to students or early stage researchers, but actually equip them with the ability to bring about change, to become, in a sense, what we call disability policy entrepreneurs or change agents in the European Commission and in organisations throughout Europe. We had been involved with a number of our existing partners on previous projects, mainly to do with research done for the various DGs. We stood back and reflected together on which additional partners would be needed, and we added two more, which turned out absolutely fantastic, including the University of Iceland in Reykjavik as well as Technosite in Madrid. There is a requirement going forward for a Marie Curie Initial Training Network that you would have a non-academic partner. In our experience, this is a tremendous asset to the network. Essentially, my advice would be to try and pick a non-academic actor that's in your field, who may not necessarily completely agree with your agenda, but nevertheless to work closely with that actor to try and find different ways of achieving what both of us want to achieve. In our particular instance, we chose industry simply because we wanted to disabuse people of the idea that doing the right thing is at odds with doing the efficient thing. And in fact, what we found is that European industry is very, very interested in the rights agenda in order to expand their market opportunities and grow employment and generate more economic activity for Europe. From the perspective of the early stage researchers, they have gained a lot of benefit from the networks that we have individually and collectively as members of the network. For example, Galway University, University of Leeds. So we've placed them in key organisations across Europe that bring about change. For example, the EU Fundamental Rights Agency in Vienna, the European Disability Forum in Brussels, and so on and so forth. And those kinds of placements have given them an insight into the process of change that they would absolutely never have acquired if they were a stay-at-the-desk PhD student. So I think they've been very gratified at that. It's really opened up to them almost 3 dimensions of change instead of the purely academic 2 dimensions of change. That's been extremely useful for the early stage researchers and quite unique to this programme. From our point of view, because we continue with our own research priorities and our own policy priorities, they have really contributed massively toward our own individual efforts, whether it be in Leeds or in Galway or in Maastricht. And some of the breakthroughs I mentioned in terms of the Marrakesh Treaty and in terms of the structural funds, we wouldn't really have been able to get off the ground without their substantial heavy lifting in the process. One of the really nice things about the Marie Curie programme is there is no nationality or citizenship requirements for the early stage researchers stroke PhDs. So we've been blessed by having a wide range of nationalities on the programme, including from the Ukraine, from Turkey, to I think from the United States, as well as from all over Europe. And that has really added greatly to the colour and the richness and the depth of the whole programme. And I would encourage coordinators who are intending putting proposals together to think about high quality applicants from around the world, not just within the European region. And thankfully, most of those early stage researchers are now committed to remaining in Europe and actually doing the right thing for us in Europe. The progress has been really outstanding. About a year ago, it was designated one of the success stories by the European Commission. And what we're particularly happy with, that is to say all of the partners in the programme, is the progress the ESRs, the early stage researchers and PhD students have made, because it's pretty obvious that at this point that they have really acquired an excellent facility in trying to engineer change, trying to identify opportunities for change, and even create opportunities for change at European level and in their member states. That's been extremely gratifying to us, because as academics we feel we're passing the baton on to the next generation. And they too feel that they've acquired skills to not just acquire knowledge, but to use that knowledge. And that, of course, makes them eminently employable as well. People have the perception that because it's an EU programme that it's mired in complexity and you're going to get bogged down interminably. From my point of view, once you understand the deep logic behind the programme, it's quite easy to actually plan systematically how you're going to implement. What I would suggest strongly is that people would consider ways of building in additional administrative support to enable the programme to run smoothly. But I wouldn't be deterred by these perceptions, which tend to be quite exaggerated about the administrative complexity involved. The best thing is what comes next, because we've been so pleased with progress and we've been so enriched by the process that we've now decided to go ahead and do a proposal for a joint PhD, because the network is really nice. But if you actually put your heads together from different disciplines and produce a joint programme, you're actually maximising all of the inputs of the different disciplines. So we're motivated enough to actually go forward for another form of Marie Curie programme. I would highly encourage academics to get involved in the Marie Curie Horizon 2020 programmes. In terms of me as a coordinator of the programme, I think I've gained very, very significantly, because we've, in a sense, set up a very dense network of communication and research. And in a sense, it's fueled me for the next 5 or 7 years, at least in terms of my own research agenda.